Ever feel like you're working towards something big, but just can't quite seem to get there? Like you're on the verge of your own promised land?
Oh, I know that feeling well.
Well, today we're diving into Destined for the Promised Land Part 2, 5 Keys to the Promised Land, to unpack some ancient wisdom about achieving those big goals and dreams.
That's a great way to put it. And, you know, it's interesting because this excerpt, even though it's part 2, really gets to the heart of a concept that's relatable to everyone, regardless of their background. It's this idea that, just like Abraham's journey to the promised land, it wasn't just about a physical destination, our aspirations, dreams, whatever you consider your promised land. It's about more than just the end goal.
Okay, so there's a Part 1. Now I'm even more intrigued. But for today, let's focus on Part 2. What exactly are these 5 spiritual principles that are supposed to help us reach our own promised lands?
Well, this deep dive is all about understanding those principles and how we might apply them today. The first key is radical obedience and trust, which the excerpt ticks off with the story of Abraham leaving everything behind, based on a message from God.
That always seemed a little extreme to me. Packing up your whole life on what, for us, would basically be a feeling. What do you make of that?
It certainly makes you think, right? Imagine the uncertainty Abraham must have felt, but the source material emphasizes that he trusted. Even though he didn't have all the answers, he had faith in something bigger than himself.
It's less about blind faith and more about trusting your gut, even when logic might tell you otherwise.
Yes, but it's also about aligning yourself with your values and goals. The excerpt calls it having a personal compass. Abraham's compass was his faith, and while that resonates with some, for others it might be their moral code, their desire to make a difference. It's that inner voice that tells you whether you're on the right track, even when it's scary.
So it's about trusting that inner voice when making those big, life-altering decisions, like quitting a secure job to pursue a passion, or moving across the world for a dream, even if it means leaving your comfort zone behind.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that sometimes those leaps of faith, those moments of radical obedience to your own inner compass, are what lead to the most fulfilling destinations.
That's a powerful way to think about it. So we've covered radical obedience and trust. What's the second key to unlocking our own promised land?
The second key is unwavering trust in God's promises, which might sound a little, well, biblical, but it has a really interesting secular application.
I was just thinking about that phrase the excerpt uses, credited to him as righteousness. Break that down for me. What does that even mean for those of us who aren't walking the pages of the Bible?
That's where interpretation comes in. It's not about religious dogma. It's about understanding the deeper meaning. The excerpt talks about it not being about perfection, but about an unwavering belief in something bigger than yourself. For Abraham, it was God. For you, it might be the universe, your own potential, the power of human connection. It's that unshakable belief that even when things get tough, you're on the right path. And that belief fuels your resilience.
That makes sense. It's like when you hit a roadblock, that unwavering belief, that faith in yourself and your goals is what keeps you going.
Yeah.
Even when it's tempting to give up.
Precisely. It's that inner strength that propels you forward, even when external validation is scarce.
It reminds me of something I heard a motivational speaker say once.
Oh, do tell. I always love a good story.
Well, it wasn't a story so much as a statement, but it always stuck with me. He said something like, the moment you're ready to quit is usually right before the breakthrough happens. And I think that applies here. It's that unwavering belief, that refusal to give up on your promised land that often leads to the most incredible outcomes.
That's a fantastic point, and it leads perfectly into the third key, which is surrendering self and submitting to God's will. Now, before you jump in, I know this one can feel a bit heavy, so let's unpack it carefully.
I'll admit, this is the one I was most hesitant about, especially that whole story about Abraham and Isaac. I mean, to talk about a test of faith, I think we can all agree that we're not advocating for anything like that today.
Absolutely not. It's crucial to remember these stories are complex and open to interpretation. The literal events might not resonate with everyone, and that's okay. But what's fascinating here is the symbolic meaning behind it.
Okay, so if we're not supposed to take it literally, what's the message behind this rather, well, intense story?
The excerpt uses the term ego death, which sounds dramatic, but is actually a very relatable concept. It's about letting go of control, surrendering to something greater than yourself. In Abraham's case, it was surrendering to God's will.
So are you saying we should all just give up agency and let fate decide our course? That doesn't seem very empowering.
Not at all. It's not about giving up your power. It's about recognizing that sometimes the path to your promised land might take unexpected turns. It's about being flexible, adapting to change, and trusting that even when things don't go according to plan, there's a bigger picture unfolding.
So instead of resisting change, we should embrace the detours.
Exactly. Sometimes those detours lead to the most incredible discoveries.
That's a great point. Sometimes the path to our goals isn't linear, and that's okay. It reminds me of a quote I love. Not all those who wander are lost. Speaking of wandering, the fourth key to reaching the promised land is trusting in God's timing and providence. This one always throws me for a loop. In our fast-paced world, patience isn't exactly celebrated, is it?
You're telling me. We want instant results, quick fixes, overnight success. But this excerpt encourages us to think differently about patience. It's not about sitting back passively. It's about actively trusting the process.
What do you mean by actively trusting?
It means focusing on what you can control, your actions, your work ethic, your mindset, while accepting that some things are outside our immediate influence. You plant the seed, you nurture it, but you can't force it to grow on your schedule.
So it's about playing your part and trusting that things will unfold as they should, in their own time.
Exactly. And while you're waiting for those seeds to sprout, you don't just sit around. You prepare the soil, you study the best gardening techniques. You might even start planning your harvest feast. That's active patience.
I see what you mean. So it's not about being passive, but about using that time wisely, prepping for the eventual success. It's like preparing for that dream job interview while still working your current one.
Now you're getting it. The excerpt encourages us to view these periods of waiting as opportunities for growth and preparation.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Focus on what you can control, trust the timing, and use that so-called downtime wisely. I can get behind that. Now, for the final key, which takes us from the individual journey to something much bigger, a legacy of faith for future generations.
This is where things get really interesting. It's easy to think about a legacy as something reserved for the famous, or those who achieve extraordinary things. But the excerpt argues that we all leave a legacy, whether we realize it or not.
So it's not about building monuments with our names on them. What about the impact we have on others?
Precisely. Every choice we make, every action we take, creates a ripple effect. When we embody these principles of faith, trust, surrender, and patience, not only do we benefit personally, but we inspire others to do the same.
So our own journeys, our own struggles and triumphs, can actually become a source of strength and inspiration for others.
Exactly. We become living examples of what's possible when we choose faith over fear, perseverance over giving up.
That's a powerful idea. It's like this beautiful cycle where one person's faith can ignite the faith of another, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond our immediate circles. So it's not just about reaching our own promised land, but about helping others reach theirs as well.
That's beautifully put. And the excerpt reminds us that it all starts with a single step, a single act of faith.
It's amazing how these ancient principles, these keys to the promised land, can feel so relevant to our modern lives. We may not be wandering through the desert like Abraham, but we all face our own challenges and uncertainties on the road to our dreams.
That's the power of metaphor, wouldn't you say? It transcends time and circumstance. Whether your promised land is a fulfilling career, a loving relationship, or a deep sense of purpose, the journey is often about the same things: faith, trust, surrender, and patience.
And what I love about this excerpt, Destined for the Promised Land Part 2, 5 Keys to the Promised Land, is that it doesn't just present these principles as abstract ideals. It gives us a framework, a roadmap, for actually applying them in our lives.
Absolutely. It reminds us that we're not alone in this journey. There's wisdom to be gleaned from those who have walked this path before us, even if they lived thousands of years ago.
And it's clear that we don't have to achieve some monumental goal for our lives to have meaning. It's about those small daily acts of faith and courage, those choices to trust our inner compass, even when the path ahead is unclear.
Exactly. It's about the impact we have on others, the legacy we create through our actions, big or small. When we live by these principles, we inspire others to do the same. And that's how we create a ripple effect of positive change in the world.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into these 5 keys, I'm left wondering, what is one small act of faith, trust, or surrender that you, dear listener, can take today to move closer to your own promised land? What seed will you plant today, knowing that with time and care, it will blossom into something remarkable?
It's a question worth pondering. Your promised land awaits.
And on that note of individual reflection, we'll conclude this deep dive. A huge thank you to our expert for sharing their insights, and to you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey of discovery. We encourage you to explore Destined for the Promised Land Part 2 further and uncover the treasures that resonate with your own journey. Until next time, keep striving, keep dreaming, and keep believing in the power of your own promised land.